That dunk live was awesome. Like, you never expected it. Kevin Devaney Jr., Ryan Moss here. The Game Day one, the show. We were at Stepanak. I was at Stepanak last Friday night. Ryan, I know you were at Stepanak. You've been at Stepanak a few times this year, so they're fun to watch.
I know we're here to talk Class AA.
What's that?
I know we're here to talk Class AA, but that Stepanak team deserves to be talked about at any chance. They're just that team is so loaded, and the Division I offers are coming in. I mean, Dayton for Carbuccia, St. John's offering Caracci already. Masoni's built something special over there.
They have. He has, and it's taken a lot of time, a lot of work. Over to Section 1 and our Game Day 1, the show. This is our Class AA feature as we hit the final home stretch of the regular season. Obviously, people have been following bracketology, and I think the most active bracketology standing on a given night is this one here. It's Class AA, as you see. Yorktown, Mahopac, Peekskill, Suffern is the top four. Suffern winning last night over Roosevelt, and Roosevelt losing one game, and it drops them in their Class A standing. Dropped them down pretty far. So it's tight. Things are shaping up, and as you see, you go down the list here, and even if you go down to the 12-13 range, you want to see Clarkstown South in your opening round. If you're the 5 or there's Harrison as a 6, I wouldn't. This is a very fun class to break down, and that's what our plan is to do here today, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, this class is really packed at the top. I think, you look at some of the traditional football lacrosse powers in Yorktown and Mahopac, becoming kind of, really strong on the basketball court as well. It's you have so many good athletes at those schools. I think it's that's going to be a really tough playoffs to get through, I think.
It is, and the team that wins the gold ball, which was, so obviously with the 6 classifications this year, Class AA is sort of what Class A was last year, and that was just like an unforgettable tournament down to the championship game, which Tappan Zee won. They held Somers to 15 points. They win the championship. They go on win the state title. Obviously now Tappan Zee's out of the mix in Class AA with the realignment. They just are under the number, so they'll be a part of our Class A show along with Pro River and a whole lot of other teams. Let's talk AA. Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, look, I live in Rybrook. I'm a Class B, smaller school guy. I don't see all the games for the larger schools a lot. You look at Yorktown, you look at Mahopac, even some of the schools that might not have quite as good of a record, like a Scarsdale. But right now, you have to pick. Who would you say is the front runner in AA?
I watched Yorktown beat Mahopac last week, man. I mean, give them a respect. They're back as the number 1 team. I think that's really what you have to regard them as. I mean, they go to the county center, and obviously this is the matchup against Mamaroneck. They wanted to challenge themselves because they know they have a team. Kaden Gonzalez, Bailey Feeks, Justin Price, all these returning starters. They go to Mamaroneck. They take on Mamaroneck at the county center. They lose. Now remember, this is a team that beat Mount Vernon in their second game of the year after losing to Lakeland in their first game. So they have struggled. The only thing they've really struggled with is that they've just been a little inconsistent. But I think that's just as much of a product of the schedule they're playing. They're just playing tough teams, game in, game out, because they have long-term goals of winning a section championship. And they're a team that last year loses in the semifinal. They lose to Somers, and they lose to Tappan Zee, and they felt like, hey, listen, next year's our year. Next year we're going to make a run at this. Mark Pavella has done a phenomenal job as coach of this group, and you saw a tough, resilient team go on the road to Mahopac, which was undefeated, sitting atop the standings in Class AA last week, get in a huge hole, play sort of poorly by their standards, and find a way to win. And that's what championship teams do. So right now, give me Yorktown as the favorite in Class AA.
No, I think, a huge road win there. I think, when you're looking to go into the playoffs, even if you're in that number 1 seed, you're eventually going to have to play at the county center. It's not always, you don't know how things are going to go there. So I think the ability to go on the road is huge. And that was obviously a win that made a huge statement at the top of the standings. I mean, do you still have Mahopac kind of as that top contender, or do you see any other teams sneaking up there?
Mahopac to me is they're a tough team. They're a physical team. They're an extremely athletic team. A lot of these guys are football players coming over to basketball season, and then they got the big man in the middle, who is Liam Scanlon, who, as you see here, can step out and shoot the J, and he's all around very talented. I do think that they're very much in the mix to obviously get to the county center. Winning at the county center is going to be tough because they just haven't shot the basketball well at times this season. But listen, the county center is going to be jam-packed for Class AA. The best crowds you're going to see are going to be for this Final Four because of, you have natural rivalries. Yorktown, Mahopac, Peekskill are probably all going to be there. All neighboring communities, all kids who grew up together playing youth sports, CYO. These guys all know each other. I think they like each other, and but they want to play each other, and they want to beat each other to win a section championship. I would not rule out Mahopac just because of the toughness that they have. And Matt Calabro has done another guy. It's just been, he was probably, he's probably still maybe one of the front runners for the Coach of the Year in Section 1.
Yeah, I mean, both of those towns, right? You talk about, huge sports towns and the way that the communities support their teams and stuff like that. So, if we get a Mahopac-Yorktown matchup in the county center, that's going to be electric no matter what. We know no distance or weather, as we know from football season, is going to keep any of the Mahopac or Yorktown fans away from any game.
Definitely.
I think the team that everybody expected probably to be on the top of the standings as they, came down a class this year, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was Scarsdale, right? They have a couple of D1 potential recruits. They had a very tough schedule, played a lot of AAA teams. Sort of, where do you see them fitting into this mix?
They're not where you expect them to be, right? You expect them to be high atop the standings, a better record. Injuries have really sort of derailed a promising season. It certainly does not derail a championship caliber season because they're still sort of on track. And had they go and lose to Mount Vernon yesterday, and put up a good effort, but they were still shorthanded, losing at home to a Mount Vernon team. They're Mount Vernon. But for me, Scarsdale, it would not shock me to see this team win the section championship in Class AA, just because of, they're going to be healthy at the right time. They have Jake Sussberg right there on the left, and they have this man, Carlos Rodriguez, ain't afraid of nothing. He's going to go to the county center if they lead Scarsdale there, and he's going to walk in there and believe he is the best player because that's what carries him. And you see him. He goes on the road against New Rochelle here, and he carried Scarsdale against New Rochelle this day in a loss, but again, another game where they were shorthanded. Jay Sussberg didn't get a lot of outside shots. He is he might be the best spot shooter in the section. Jake Sussberg, extremely talented, as good of a form. He's good size, 6'3", 6'4", very talented player. When they're whole and they're all together, look out. I mean, Yorktown's going to have a hard time if we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of a matchup. They're going to have a hard time matching up the size of Scarsdale, and I think in some ways they might have a little bit of a hard time matching up with the depth. They both have to get there first, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Scarsdale play in a few weeks, admittedly, but I saw them play against Stepanak early in the season, and I know the final score ended up being a blowout, but the first half of that game was competitive. Scarsdale was not afraid of Stepanak. They were we know that gym is tiny and hard to play in, so I can't imagine them going to the county center, against any of these teams and being intimidated.
Nothing better prepares them for a championship game environment than going on the road to Stepanak because you said the gym is small. It's a regulation-sized court. Stepanak's just so big and so fast. It just feels even smaller. It's very suffocating. So Scarsdale can go in there and play well. I like their chances against anyone they're going to play from here until maybe the end of March if they go that far.
Right. Yeah. Now, of that last group in there, those sort of like, maybe 6, 7, 8 seeds, maybe a 10 seed, some of those teams that are going to be in there, the East Chesters, the Fox Lanes, is there one of those groups that you see is maybe getting hot at the right time, maybe has a chance to make a run?
Well, I don't want to go too far down the list first. We'll start with Peekskill because Peekskill, to me, they're still in this. They're still very much a threat, and they're back, and they're back to being a threat. There was an era where it was all Peekskill, early 2010s, late 2000s. They were winning gold balls. They were going up to Glens Falls, winning state championships, playing for federation titles. And I don't know if they're quite there yet, but give me Jaden Chavis on his best night against any player, and give me this guy, Zeke Jones, who is come into this program and he has completely altered what they can do as a team that can play out in transition and defensively. And you're seeing they are so fast. They get off the floor, and I watched them against this was a game against Hen Hud, and Hen Hud shot the ball well, and their head was still spinning because of the speed that Peekskill can play at. And if you haven't faced Peekskill's speed, it's going to really be tough when they get to the, I sort of like their style at the county center if they're able to get on the big floor. But they're another team that's got to get there first because they have a lot to prove. And right now, as we see back in the standings, they're the number 3 team, right? When you want to go down the list, I think Fox Lane on a given night is very talented. Eastchester has been struggling with some injuries. They're going to be a threat. I like Somers. I think Coach James Logren has come in and has really infused a lot of energy into this program. A lot of football players, a lot of winning mentality. Another team, Max Sullivan, really hobbled by injuries from the, state football championship run. So he's another guy who's going to be a threat. I think he's going to play his best basketball in the second half and down the stretch. And then all the way down the row, there are no easy games in this Class AA tournament. And as you see, I still think Scarsdale has a chance to really move up. They were at 5 yesterday going into the Scarsdale game, going into the Mount Vernon game. They're down to 9. They have some chance to they can just string together some wins, get in that 4, 5, 6 range. I think, if anything, if you're Yorktown, you do not want Scarsdale, that 8-9 matchup coming into your gym in the semifinals. All the pressure is going to be on Yorktown, and as I said, it's not a great matchup. So you need if you're Yorktown, just get him out of that 8-9 game, and then take your chances at the county center.
No, I mean, look, when you look at the fact that I think there's Clarkstown South sitting there at number 12 is above 500, right? Like, as opposed to Class AAA, where you are only going to have an 8-9 team field, your sort of traditional quarterfinals, semifinals, championship. Class AA looks like it's going to be a grind to get through. Maybe you're going to have a couple upsets. Maybe it's not going to. This looks like maybe the class where we're not going to have all chalk at the end.
No, could be the bracket buster class. It'd be a lot of fun. Always is.
And it's really nice to see Peekskill back and being competitive. I know for guys of a certain age like me and you, Kevin, even going back to Elton Brand, in the late 90s and, kind of what he ended up doing at Duke in the NBA and then, Mookie Jones at Syracuse. That's a program in a town that really, deserves to have some success.
Give Tyrone C. Wright the credit. He's now the coach. He's wanted to be the basketball coach. He was assistant under Lou Panzanero, the legend. Austin Goldberg, the AD, gave him the shot. He was the girls' coach. Gave him the shot to be the boys' coach, and he has really. And I said this about Matt Calabro being front runner. I think if I had to vote today, who the coach of the year in Section 1 is, I think Tyrone C. Wright has done everything and more for this Peekskill team as they come in with only one loss.
Yeah, it's an awesome story, and I think that's a town that it's always been basketball there. It's not a football town. It's basketball being big in Peekskill is a good thing for Section 1.
It absolutely is. Good thing for guys like us, too. Like to go watch Peekskill play. So it's a lot of fun. Ryan, awesome job as always. We have a couple more shows to record here today, but this is a lot of fun. I hope people enjoy it. You can check us out right now up in kdjblog.com. A lot more to come on that front. And, of course, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, we're going to send that out every day. Just giving some updates on Section 1 basketball. This video will probably be included in tomorrow's newsletter. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon.